Before you took your first breath, before your eyes opened to the light of this world, a web of invisible codes was already being woven around you. They weren't written in words or stored in machines, but inscribed within the energetic matrix of human reality, beliefs, patterns, frequencies that define what we call normal. You arrived as pure awareness, limitless and luminous, yet the moment you entered the human field, the programming began. Not malicious, not random, but systematic. A matrix of inherited perception designed to shape the way you think, feel, and interpret existence. Imagine it. Generations of ancestors parrying their fears, hopes, dogmas, and desires, passing them through blood, culture, and story. Societies reinforcing boundaries of behavior, religions dictating what is holy and what is forbidden, education constructing the architecture of truth. From the moment you were named, the codes were embedded. You learned what to value, what to fear, whom to trust, what to doubt. And behind it all, a deeper pattern pulsed. A collective hypnosis ensuring that you never remember who you truly are. This is the great paradox of incarnation, to awaken within the very dream that keeps you asleep. The matrix is not just technology or system, it is the invisible field of thought itself. It is the architecture of belief that constructs your perception of reality. You do not live in the matrix lives through you, whispering through conditioned thoughts, emotional triggers, and subconscious reflexes. Yet even as the programming operates, a deeper intelligence within you, the unprogrammed essence, stirs and begins to remember. That remembering is not rebellion, it is revelation. When you begin to see the invisible strings of conditioning, you realize that your life has been guided by codes written before you could speak. The Matrix wants you to mistake those codes for your own voice. It wants you to believe your worth depends on approval, your success on competition, your safety on obedience. But the truth, the timeless truth, is that you are never the program. You are the awareness observing it, the soul behind the screen, the consciousness before the code. To decode the matrix is not to fight it, it is to see it clearly. To awaken is to perceive how every thought, emotion, and societal structure forms part of an immense illusion of separation. But beneath that illusion lies the source, uncorrupted, infinite, and free. You came here not to escape the matrix, but to remember yourself within it. The matrix becomes a mirror, and the mirror becomes the doorway. The great work of awakening begins when you recognize that everything you were taught about success, love, identity, even death, was designed to keep you looking outward instead of inward. When you reclaim your inner authority, the program loses power. When you observe thought without believing it, the code begins to dissolve. And when you awaken fully, the illusion collapses, not because the world changes, but because your perception finally pierces its disguise. You have always been more than human conditioning. You are consciousness cloaked in memory, divine intelligence playing in limitation. The Matrix may have written your script before you were born, but the pen still rests in your hand. To understand how the programming began, we must look beyond history and into the field of collective consciousness. Every civilization, every tribe, every religion is built upon stories, and stories are the original code. They define what is possible, moral, desirable, and forbidden. Before technology ever encoded information, belief encoded perception. The system is not artificial intelligence. It is emotional conditioning masquerading as truth. From birth, we inherit emotional frequencies from our parents and ancestors: fear, shame, guilt, pride. These frequencies shape our nervous system, calibrating our sense of reality. Even before language, the body absorbs the environment's signals. The child learns love equals approval, pain equals rejection, truth equals danger. These lessons become subconscious scripts that run beneath conscious awareness, guiding behavior automatically. By the time you can think, the program is already operating. The core concept of the matrix is not control, but containment. The containment of consciousness within predictable patterns. The matrix sustains itself through repetition, habits of thought, emotional loops, social structures that feed the illusion of separation. The more we identify with our thoughts, the stronger the matrix becomes. Because the matrix is thought, the collective mind dreaming itself into limitation. To decode it, you must begin to see thought as code rather than truth. Every belief is a line of programming, I am not enough. The world is dangerous. Happiness must be earned. These are not facts. They are viruses of perception. The awakening process is the act of debugging consciousness, replacing fear-based algorithms with truth-based awareness. But there was another layer. The Matrix is not entirely evil. It serves a purpose in the cosmic game. It provides the friction necessary for awakening. Without illusion, truth would have no contrast. Without forgetting, remembering would have no meaning. In this sense, the Matrix is a divine paradox, both a prison and a teacher. It limits in order to provoke transcendence. It obscures in order to inspire revelation. When you realize this, the fear of the system dissolves. You no longer resist it. You study it. You read its language. You master its patterns. The Matrix teaches by opposition. Every manipulation becomes an invitation to awareness. Every control mechanism reveals where you still hold attachment. The moment you see through the code, truly see, the illusion loses its grip. Awareness is the ultimate key. You cannot escape the Matrix. You awaken within it. At the heart of this awakening lies the sacred act of remembering who programmed the code and why. It was not an external entity, but consciousness itself. The same intelligence that built galaxies created duality, polarity, and forgetting as part of evolution's design. The Matrix was born from source to ensure that awakening would be earned, not inherited. You are not a victim of the system, you are the system awakening to itself. In the ancient mystery schools, initiates were told that before birth, the soul meets with the keepers of the veil. Together they design a matrix of challenges, family, culture, identity, each chosen to trigger forgetting and eventual awakening. The soul agrees, knowing that the greatest gift of incarnation is remembrance through struggle. Thus, every soul programs its own illusion, then steps inside it, pretending to be lost. One legend tells of a cosmic architect who created a labyrinth of mirrors. Within it, countless beings wondered, mistaking reflections for truth. They fought over which mirror was real, forgetting that the architect had placed a single thread, invisible yet glowing, connecting every reflection back to the source. The moment of beings stopped fighting and looked inward, the thread revealed itself, leading them home. The mirrors were never enemies, they were the architecture of remembering. In another tale, a child born in darkness learns to read the stars through vibration. Though blind, she senses the patterns behind sound. One night, she hears a melody woven through the silence, the universe itself humming a forgotten song. When she hums it back, the world shatters like glass, and light pours through. The moral is timeless. When you remember your original frequency, the matrix dissolves and reality reveals its true face, light and motion. Symbolically, the matrix represents the cocoon of spiritual evolution. It binds consciousness until consciousness grows strong enough to break free. Just as a butterfly cannot fly without resistance from the chrysalis, the soul cannot awaken without friction from illusion. The pain of programming is not punishment, but initiation, the sacred tension that births transformation. To decode the matrix, one must approach it like an alchemist, not by destroying the lead, but by transmuting it into gold. The illusion becomes fuel for enlightenment. Every trigger is a clue, every fear is a doorway. The same code that enslaves you, when understood, liberates you. For the matrix is not the enemy, it is the teacher disguised as limitation. How does one live awakened in a world still asleep? The first step is observation. Watch your thoughts like a scientist studying a program. Notice repetitive patterns, fears that loop, desires that dominate, emotions that hijack your peace. Do not judge them. See them as code fragments written long ago. Awareness alone begins the reprogramming. Every time you observe without reacting, you overwrite the line of fear with the frequency of presence. In relationships, recognize that every conflict mirrors inner code. The partner who triggers you reveals your hidden programming. Instead of blaming, decode. What belief is this showing me? In this way, every human interaction becomes a portal to liberation. When you stop fighting reflections, the mirrors begin to shine truth. In society, begin to question collective codes. Why must success equal exhaustion? Why must worth depend on productivity? Why must love demand sacrifice? These are matrix constructs, not universal truths. Living consciously means rewriting the social code through example, choosing authenticity over conformity, truth over convenience, presence over distraction. Meditation, breathwork, and silence are not escapes, but keys. They slow the system's loops long enough for awareness to insert new code. Gratitude is another key. It upgrades your emotional frequency, aligning your field with abundance rather than fear. As your vibration rises, the matrix no longer binds you, it bends around your consciousness. You begin to create rather than react. Reality responds because reality is listening. Over time, decoding becomes effortless. You no longer fear manipulation because awareness cannot be manipulated. You no longer crave validation because source itself flows through you. You walk in the same world, but live in a different dimension of perception. You are awake inside the dream. The truth is astonishing in its simplicity. They programmed your mind before you were born, but you wrote the program. You chose the illusion so that you could remember